We are here with John Connelly, who is the CEO of Interblock. And Interblock has had an extraordinary ride under Mr. Connelly's leadership, and there's no other way to put it. John, every year when we do these interviews, we talk about the future being electronic table games. It seems to me that future has arrived.
First, it's nice to see you, as always. Yeah, well, thank you for that. Appreciate it. And yeah, very fortunate that Interblock's had a successful run and the team continues to perform incredibly well, and lots of new and exciting things to share with you about this G2E. So looking forward to it.
Okay, great. The one thing that you've done is you have uh, developed your product line far beyond what someone 5 or 6 years ago would have thought. You've got a whole variety of products. Can you just kind of go through them?
Sure. So obviously there's the ETG component that I'll summarize, but this year I'll also share with you we're launching a new category of gaming at this year's G2E officially. But before I get into that, on the ETG side, we have the traditional standalone products that the company was founded on, mechanical products, mechanical roulette, without dealers. Then we have a stadium product where there can be dealers or no dealers, and that category continues to expand. We then have a third category, which is our universal cabinet, which incorporates the dice popper and other products of an individual demographic play set. And then we have the fourth category we launched last year, which is smart pay, which continues to grow. So those four categories within the ETG sector segment for us, comprise Interblock's division. However, this year we are launching a new category within our company, within gaming, called Amuse. So the way I explain that, Frank, is there was slots and live table games for decades, and we've worked very hard as a team the past 10 years, past decade, to create a third category called electronic table games. And I think most would agree we've been part of that success on a global scale, where now most people would describe their casino floors having slots, tables, and ETGs. Because of the lessons learned the past decade and the innovation of Interblock, and several other reasons, we've taken it upon ourselves to see if we can't replicate that success by creating a fourth category of casino floors called Amuse. It's a category that's completely different, designed for a different player, and we'll be showcasing over 12 different products. Virtually half the Interblock booth at this year's G2E will be Amuse and that category itself.
So what is Amuse?
So the premise behind it is, online, there is a whole segment of player bases, hundreds of millions of people a month hit various types of content, such as crash games you may have heard of, or marble racing. And so when we saw this online, we said there's a tremendous amount of people that are embracing entertainment style games. And then when you started to then compare that to arcades, Dave and Buster's, and Chuck E. Cheese just came out and said they're announcing a whole new brand for adults. There's this category, both in the online space and really in the hospitality sector, that's been ignored by the casino industry. And that mentality, those players really want time on device. They don't mind necessarily losing a couple $100 if they're being entertained. And you can see that with the success that's been resonating in both the online space and traditional space. So we took upon ourselves to say, we think we can take that category that is exploding, quite frankly, And we thought we could bring it in an RNG base down to the casino floors and create an environment for people to come in and wager that otherwise would never have come to the casino floor. They walk past it because they don't want to play slots or live tables or ETGs. They want to be amused with other types of gaming. So we have coin pusher type games at our show this year. We've got marble racing. We've got crash games. We've got some very innovative products we believe strongly will attract a whole new player. And in closing, I'll just say that we tested our theory out in Las Vegas, and we went to all the major operators and said, would you support this? And even before G2E, we've signed 80% of the Las Vegas market where they're going to put a minimum of 6 products in their casinos and create a section. And I think, it's taking off beyond our wildest dreams. And we'll see what happens at the show.
Okay, very interesting. Obviously, the gaming floor has changed a lot, and it's changed a lot because of electronic table games of the various sorts that you offer. If you were to take out your crystal ball and look at 5 years from now, would there be any live dealers left?
Yes, of course. I think the human interaction and that element is, for some, still very important. However, I think as technology and society evolves, the younger generations, which are becoming older, they're demanding a different type of player interface, a different type of experience. And I believe it's our responsibility within the supply sector of gaming to also evolve in that manner and continue to diversify our methods by which we distribute content. And the online's a perfect example. I mean, if you look at New Jersey, Michigan, their online segment is bigger than the traditional gaming segment. And they did it in less than 5 years. That took decades for the traditional land base to grow. And the traditional land base has held in. I mean, the numbers are still where they were before. This is pure incremental revenue, and it's doubled. So it tells us there is a demand out there we have not been servicing. New Jersey, Michigan, perfect examples. And I think it's the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more out there that players or consumers are demanding from us. And we need to, as an industry, use technology and innovation to capture that. And we're trying to do that at Interblock.
Does technology mean you also are online?
Great question. You and I have talked for years. I've been hesitant. I used to be in the online space 15 plus years ago with a previous company. I've been hesitant to bring Interblock into the online space because it is such a demanding, competitive market. And Interblock has been growing organically at such a rate I wanted to keep the company focused. That being said, the past 12 months or so, maybe a little longer, we've reached a critical scale now where I think we are capable of handling both, and we do intend to enter the online space as a B2B supplier with our content in both a RGS, remote gaming server format, and in a live streaming format by Q2 of next year. So next 6 months, give or take 6 to 9 months, we will be entering the online space with a I think a very unique and compelling offering.
The buzzword of the year in gaming and every other industry is artificial intelligence. Are you participating? Are you employing AI in any way? And if so, what do you intend to achieve from that?
So we are definitely studying and having meetings around AI to better understand the benefits it can provide and, quite frankly, understand the risks it can apply. Thus far, I think our assessment is that AI, from a software perspective in the gaming industry, software is an incredible threat that is, I think, being underestimated by all of us. And its ability to open the door for quick and effective software content development that we've never seen before, at least since I've been in gaming. So we're watching that, and we're really then, as a result of that potential threat, which I think lowers the barrier to entry tremendously in the gaming sector for new entrants on the software content side. And we're tripling down on mechanical electrical innovation because we believe, at least at Interblock, mechanical electrical AI is going to have a much more difficult time replicating that format, that approach in a product strategy versus purely software. So that's really the direction we're heading, and we're continuing to study and learn as everybody. And I think we'll know much more in the next 12 to 24 months, but I don't think it's going to take longer than that.
When you say lowering the barrier to entry in software, is this sort of like democratizing, and you're going to have people come up from the bottom everywhere to compete with?
All I can say is I was in a meeting recently and someone asked me, tell me a game you'd like to create. And within 30 minutes of us just having fun in a whiteboard session, they produced the game. Now, was it certified? Was it ready for market? No. But the game was 10 times more advanced than you would have ever imagined. And it happened in 30 minutes through AI. So I believe, to your point, Frank, that there will be a whole new generation of innovation on the software content development side through AI that will challenge all of us as to how we're doing business and how we think about our product roadmaps and our differentiation in the marketplace. But again, it's at its infancy. However, one person's opinion is that AI will move so quickly that what used to take 20 years to evolve, or even a decade, is going to take 24 to 36 months.
One of the things you have in the gaming industry is you have regulatory bodies and you have legislation. And that's tended to slow down innovation compared to non-regulated industries. You also have, in the case of an Interblock or many other companies, you have uh, uh, a whole infrastructure to service your product line and your customers. Uh, so in this new world where maybe there's a software coming up from everywhere, uh, is there still that protection, if that's the right word, that comes from regulation, that comes from already having the established infrastructure to service players?
That's a great point. And I think the answer is yes. I think it will absolutely help, but I don't think it is enough of a deterrent to stop. Meaning, I guess the best analogy I could use is if you look at the online space, eventually what happened was there was aggregators. Now, they played a role for a period of time. It's dissipating now. They have the times and the money to go direct, so aggregators are becoming less critical. But for a period of probably 10, 15 years, aggregators allowed that barrier to lower, to access the market through an aggregator quite quickly. And the licensing through an aggregator and the bar you needed to be licensed was much lower than a direct operator, B2C operator themselves. You could very, very easily see that happening in the traditional gaming space. You can find cabinets, slot cabinets, hardware, generic hardware, in many different places. And you can place your content on it, and you can get certified quite quickly in certain markets around the world. In some cases, you don't even really need to be certified. Then there's obviously the other end of the spectrum where Nevada, New Jersey, other major North American markets, the bar's quite high and it takes time, takes money, but you don't have to start there. So a white label type of structure or aggregator in the traditional land-based sense, I see that coming very, very quickly. We've been approached to take content and place it on our products from online suppliers because we do have that infrastructure and we are licensed. So the aggregator model that we've seen in the online space, you could very, very quickly see that evolve in the traditional land-based sense to address the concern you just said.
this is maybe a topic for another day that we're kind of wandering into. Um, but you see uh, regulators throughout the world dealing with these issues. And the big bogeyman is out there has always been, well, the offshore illegal book, they're not going to care. Um, in the world that you think may be happening, that would be even more so, I should think.
Can agree more. And I also think that a lot of the jurisdictions around the world are looking for more money, more dollars. And being a traditional land-based proponent, not as much in the online space, um, we have to be very cognizant as the traditional land-based sector that there's this other world out there moving quite quickly, very competitive with a lot of money, a lot of consumers, and a lot of demand. And we need to keep up. We need to evolve as the traditional land-based sector. I think more at a faster rate than we have in the past decade to remain relevant to the consumers. And I think it's upon all of us to, continue to innovate and continue to work together as an industry to identify things such as you said, AI or potentially barriers of entry coming down in certain areas. And what are we going to do to optimize that? And so I can only speak for Interblock, but we continue on a weekly basis to challenge ourselves as to what can we do different as a supplier to the traditional land-based segment to help it become or remain as relevant 10 years from now as it is today. And hence why we've worked so hard on ETGs to create that as a segment, because we think it does cater to a different player base. Quite frankly, online, you don't have chips, and in ETGs, you don't have chips. There's a lot of similarities between the online space and what we've done at Interblock in ETGs. Something very similar is with Amuse. We've taken online and what's trending online at a tremendous rate, and we're bringing it down to the traditional land-based segment to attract those players. And I think if we all continue to try different things, innovate, work together, we have as you said, the political prowess within our jurisdictions and the infrastructure to, I think, to really remain competitive for a long time. But we have to keep working.
Well, as you said, innovation, and we're heading into G2E where we see the innovation in action. What are several of, or two or three of the must-see products at your booth this year?
Yeah, we kicked the tires last year on Amuse, as I've been saying. We had a marble race game in our booth that won product of the year. We never expected it, but it was an indicator that the industry is interested in something different than just a slot table game or ETG. And because of that, we've expanded that focus in this year's G2E, where we have literally half of our booth is the Amuse new category we're launching. So we'll see what happens by the end of the week, but we're hoping, and there's some strong indications that the industry worldwide will start talking about a fourth category of gaming we've never heard of before, and that's going to be called Amuse. It's going to be sections of floors within the next 24 months. We'll see, which will have marble racing, coin pushers, crash games, very different content offerings that look and play very differently, more time on device. I tell people lately, just funny, Frank, just as a comparison so people can, at least get context. I was once upon a time in the slot industry, and the RTP of the core games to the player, a slot game, was 85, 90%. We would give a lot back in the core game and put a little bit up towards a progressive or a jackpot. Some of the most successful games like casino floors today, the RTP on the core game is 30%. Only 30% is going back in the core game so it can fund these mystery jackpots or mystery bonus rounds that are quite entertaining. I won't mention any products, but I think we know what they are. And if you sit down at a game, you can go through $200-300 in a few minutes. Or in a very short period of time, unless you hit a bonus round. That's for a certain type of player. But there are tens of millions of people that want to go into an environment and sit down for a couple hours and just relax, and they're okay losing $200. They just don't want to do it in 10 minutes. So we're really trying to, with Amuse, offer an area of the floor that people can go have fun, try different games. They know they're probably going to lose their money, but they're going to want to come back because they were entertained. So I think if you come to Interblock, I would highly recommend looking at this new category. Obviously, please look at electronic table games as well. And the last surprise I have, Frank, is that never say never, but due to some acquisitions we've done recently, we will be launching two slot cabinets. So Interblock is getting into the slot business, which I can't believe I'm saying, but it's true. And we've had some very positive feedback. Some of us in Interblock know that business a little. And so we're going to be offering for sale, which is the first time I've used that word in 10 years. We will be selling slot cabinets, whereas we lease our ETGs and others.
Well, that is interesting. As always, John, very informative and thought-provoking. Anything else you'd like folks to know about Interblock?
No, just thankful for the industry giving us the opportunity to innovate and allowing our team to continue to do what they love. So beyond that, no, Frank, great to see you.
Great to see you.